What's up, everybody? We got a great show today. We got a great show. Two people I've been wanting to talk to. Two people I've wanted to been talk to for a long time now. Chrstine Olivo, she's running for Congress in Florida. I've seen her on in the Twitterverse a lot, and wanted to get a chance to speak with her more. I've seen her. I'm trying to think of the other show I saw her on. Another lefty show. So really excited about that. That'll be up at 4. And then after that, we're gonna talk to Erika Feresten, and she lives out here in California. She helped kind of contact me and walk me through the process of speaking with Healthcare for LA with Assemblyman Santiago, and then I ended up speaking with Assemblyman Calra on the show about CalCare, and I kind of got connected through Erica. So she's from Healthcare for Los Angeles. So yeah, really excited to talk to her because obviously, we there was a lot of hype behind CalCare, and it'll be interesting to see what her thoughts are on what happened with it. Didn't really make it very far through the legislative process here in California. Super majority Democrat. You love that. Single payer was up and barely made it past a few committees in the legislature. So we'll be talking with her about that and her perspective, and it'll be good. And that'll be up around 4:45. How's everyone been doing though? Sorry, it's been a while. I will say football, it's kicking my ass in the sense of it's taking a lot of my time, a lot more than I thought it would right now. So that's why I haven't been streaming as much, posting as much. I'm trying to do more scheduling, stuff like this. I want to have more conversations with people. So I think we'll be speaking with Kashama Sawant next week. That'll be really, really cool. I'm trying to set that up. So I'm trying to do more stuff like that so we can have, these constructive conversations. And push, and try and push things forward and see what we can do. I want to have, organizers like union members, that type of stuff. I want to have them on the show as well. So we're gonna be doing a lot, and that's what I've kind of been trying to set up. So sorry I haven't been posting as much daily stuff, but I want to figure out also how to make the show different, because there's a lot of people that cover the news. I know all of y'all. If y'all are watching this show, then I'm sure, especially in the early stages, I'm sure y'all follow the daily news, right? So I do want to cover that. I do want to talk about that, but I kind of want to weave it together with more, I don't know, in-depth conversations. And just try and make the channel a little bit different. So that's what I've been doing. So I've been thinking about y'all. Don't think I haven't been thinking about y'all, trying to make sure the show is as good as possible. But yeah, football has been taking up a lot of my time. That's okay. We're figuring it out. I just gotta get used to the schedule and then find out how I can work around it. I still have some free time. It is still the off season. Someone said, "Did I steal this Gatorade bottle from the Chargers?" Yeah, I think that is where I got it. I wouldn't say I stole it. I was provided it. Yeah. But yeah, I took it home. I think it's good to have a water bottle around because it helps you drink more. Because I don't know, I'm one of those people that when I get like, I don't sit still. Like I'm always like drinking water or I don't know, messing around with other stuff. I think it's like my ADHD, a way for me to like control it. It's like a tick. I don't know, kind of like a tick or something like that, or a habit. Yeah, and then you're not using up plastic bottles as much. That too. So, but yeah, I'm gonna be having Aaron Matei on the show pretty soon because I want to talk about what's going on in Israel and Gaza. We'll ask Christine her perspective on that and where she stands on that issue. We'll ask her that when she hops on here. But yeah, I'm gonna be having Aaron Matei on just to further educate myself, because I don't know as much as I probably should about um the Palestinian, struggle and the conflict there. Um, so I want to learn more from Aaron because obviously him with the Gray Zone, they do a lot of reporting on that. So I'm probably gonna get him on maybe Thursday. on the show Thursday. Also tomorrow I will be taking over, pun intended, Status Quo, because Jordan Sheridan is out of town and he's getting some people to come guest host. So I'll be taking over Status Quo tomorrow. We'll be streaming at like 1:30 Pacific time, 4:30 Eastern. So yeah, Rania Call too. Yeah, I should try and get Rania on the show as well to talk about that. But yeah, so check out, I'll be streaming from the Status Quo channel tomorrow. So check that out. Would you ever interview Ryan Grimm or Jeremy Scahill? I actually reached out to Jeremy Scahill, but never got a response. So, but I mean, yeah, I reached out because I wanted to interview him about his reporting. And Ryan Grimm. I mean, I talk to anybody. Like I said, I'll talk to Ryan Grimm. Shoot, I should reach out to him, try and get him on the show. And but I mean, did you guys see that? I see back when Ryan Grimm and Ryan Knight did that whatchamacallit, debate. When they did that debate, I wanted to kind of, at first I was gonna live stream, like react to it. And then I was like, I'll just watch it. And then I was gonna bring Bree on so we could talk about it, but timing just didn't work out. The Vanguard, yeah. So more will be happening in the near future. He's so boring. Yeah. Yeah, we got a few filibusters there in that debate, if y'all were watching that. But let's start a little early here and talk with our first guest. So let's bring on Chrstine. She's been patiently waiting so I could talk with y'all. So how you doing?
Hi. Okay, honest answer, I'm angry, but I'm happy to be here. But just angry with the climate that we're living in. But yeah,
Hey, I feel that. I feel that. So I'm glad you said that because I completely agree.
yeah.
So let me just give you a proper intro. This is Chrstine Olivo. Am I saying that right? Olivo?
I say Olivo,
Olivo. Okay, Chrstine.
Olivo.
I
Yeah,
like that.
but
I
it
like
doesn't
that
matter.
better. Like that sounds better. Chrstine Olivo. She's running for election for the U.S. House to represent Florida's 24th congressional district. She was born
Yes.
in El Portal, Florida. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about your hometown, where you're from?
Well, I'm from Miami. It's like El Portal's like just like a little village in between Little Haiti and North Miami. Most people
Okay.
aren't even really aware. But my family's from Haiti, so I grew up in a Haitian household.
Hmm.
That's and for those of you that are Haitian, you know that's a lot of djikole, that's a lot of griot, that's a lot of
Hmm.
Caribbean food.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a
but
lot of culture. That's a
it's
lot
a
of
lot of
culture.
culture. I grew up in a diverse neighborhood, so my friends
Hmm.
are Filipino, Dominican, Colombian, you name it. There's just a slew of us, African.
Hmm.
So I grew up in the district. I went to school in the district. I got my first job in the district. I also
Hmm.
opened up my first dance studio in the district and closed
Okay.
it.
Wow.
But that's a different story. But
You
I've
did
done
it though. You did it.
everything. Yeah, I did. But the rent was too high.
Hmm.
So, so I've done it all, and now I'm ready to defend the district in DC.
Okay. Look at that. That would be amazing, and that's why I'm glad to have you on the show. I want to kind of probe you on how you feel about the issues. But like I've seen you on Twitter and I've seen you on other shows, so I know, but I want to inform my audience. So why don't you kind of give us your 2-minute elevator pitch on why you are running for Congress?
Ooh, very exciting. I'm running for Congress because we have normalized impoverished lifestyles. We have normalized three families living in one house. We have normalized working three jobs just to make a living. We have
Hmm.
normalized not being able to afford college. We have normalized not having health care. We have normalized just about everything you can think of. We have normalized the fact that we have to bury our children at 3 years old, which last week a mother had to bury her child due to gun violence. So I say all of this to say it's not normal and we're done. The reason why it is so normal is because we have representation that actually benefits off of keeping us in
Hmm.
poverty. And you got to keep voting for me. You got to keep electing me because we're not done yet. But these things can be changed now. We can really impact our community by putting forth legislation that can impact us now. We don't have to wait. So I'm running because we need someone that's going to show up and fight. The current representative is not showing up. One of the most absent members of Congress, ranked 17th most absent out of all 435. So we have someone that's not showing up and that doesn't have the energy to fight. And this is not about age, this is about time. Over time, you just get tired of it, right? Well, time for fresh new energy, fresh new blood. And born and raised here, I can relate to everything from not being able to afford college, from having to close down a business, from having to put pennies together to get diapers for my son. I can relate. And so when I go to fight, it's personal. It's a personal fight. And that's why I'm ready to run.
Amazing.
Again,
I love
second
that.
time.
Second time. Okay, so why don't you talk a little bit about the first time? Who
Oh, the first time I was so
who did you go up against? What
same.
I mean, are they like a centrist, liberal, kind of like Nancy Pelosi type?
All right, let's get into
And
it.
what happened with that race? And what are you gonna do differently this time?
I am running again against Frederica Wilson. She is also known as the Hat Lady. She has a Netflix episode out right now talking about her thousands of hats. Um, so if you look up
It's
Frederica
like
Wilson,
Pelosi with her $30,000 refrigerators in the middle of a pandemic when they're not
listen,
giving people money. Showing
listen,
that off. Yeah,
let's
same thing. Same energy right there. Same energy.
say yes, yes. So Frederica Wilson is well loved by the community because she has a nonprofit organization called 5,000 Role Models. And what that does is they mentor to young men in the community, and she helps get them into college and things like that.
Mhm.
So they people do not realize that she's going to have her nonprofit with or without her being in Congress, but she's
Right.
actually not doing her job,
Mhm.
it, the job that she has. Like, she's not voting, she's not putting forth legislation. She passed something last year, right? It's called it's a commission on the status of Black men and boys. She passed it with Marco Rubio, right? No one has been appointed to this
Oh
commission,
my
number
God.
one. Number two, you have an organization that has been helping mentor young Black boys for
Mhm.
over what, 30 years? How come you don't know? How come you don't know the status? How come you don't know the things that are getting us killed in the streets? How
Mhm.
come you don't know the things that are keeping us oppressed? You should know this. It's
Mhm.
easy. I'll tell you, we need to end cash bail. We
Right.
need we need free tuition free college.
Tangible things.
Tangible things. We need things in the community. So I'm running against Frederica Wilson again. I am the thorn in her side.
No, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to cause a ruckus. So,
Yeah.
as far as, the people in your district, what would you say your district is it pretty I mean, I saw on your page it says a quarter of the district does not have health insurance. 80% of the district does not have a college degree. The median household income is $44,000 a year. 132,000 people live under the poverty line. So, I mean,
Yeah.
what type of reception do you get when you bring things like Medicare for all and free public college and those type of things within the spaces within your community? Because this community really could stand to benefit from some of these universal policies that people on the
Yes.
left are pushing.
Absolutely. So I'm well received. Um, I last election I ran as a non-party affiliate because I just didn't want to associate myself either way. And you know,
Mhm.
um, the Democrats really gave me a hard time trying to run against an
Oh, I'm
incumbent.
sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. So when I was running as a non-party affiliate, it was
Mhm.
like, oh, thank God. Finally, somebody that's not gonna get caught up in drama and forget us. I was
Mhm.
knocking on doors and people were like, you should not be here. Politicians don't come here. We haven't seen anybody in maybe 15, 20 years.
Wow.
And I said, no, we need to be here. What people are struggling with, keeping their businesses open. What people are
Mm.
struggling with, affording their homes. We have had 17,000 evictions in the district since the pandemic.
That is Even with all the moratoriums and everything, still getting
Don't talk
evicted.
to me. It's a joke. The moratoriums are a joke. These landlords find the loopholes. So
Wow.
I don't know if you've ever it was called the New Florida Majority. Now they're called Florida Rising.
Mhm.
And they are keeping count of every single eviction on their wall because they're
Wow.
trying to fight. We have serious
It's
issues.
unbelievable.
Yeah, serious issues. And yet we have someone that's not showing up to work. We don't have time for that.
No, for sure.
People are literally dying.
Yeah. I mean, that's see, that's why, a lot of people on the left have been really kind of getting into, the progressives in Congress, right? Because they're saying things like a $15 minimum wage is not a red line for me.
Yeah.
That's not a red line for me to spur into some type of urgent action, right? And things like, just the American Rescue Plan, which, Chrstine, I don't know if you heard, but it's supposed to pull, at least half the residents of your town out of poverty. That's
Yeah.
what it's supposed to do, right? So it's good enough to vote for stuff like that instead of actually playing hardball, right? And pushing for real tangible changes so that
Yes.
things like 17,000 people getting evicted in your district, right, doesn't happen.
Exactly.
So, I mean, would you be willing, if you got into Congress, I don't know if you heard, but you're on Twitter, so I'm sure you have. Back in December, a lot of people on the left were pushing force the vote. We're pushing force the vote, saying, okay, Nancy Pelosi, if you want our vote for the speakership, because there's such slim margins, and all these people have organized and worked and given their last little bits of money to get these progressives elected, who, when they were campaigning, were saying that they were going to do stuff like forcing votes and being actually opposite, being some type of confrontational force to take over the Democratic Party. That's what they ran on. That's what
Yeah.
people gave for. And
Yep.
then when a leverage point, one of the few leverage points you get when you actually get a little bit of institutional power, they were not willing
They
and
dropped the
ready to
ball.
use that. They actually, I mean, they were ready to use it for other things like impeachment, but for things like force the vote on speakership, they weren't willing to do that. They weren't willing to do it for the American Rescue Plan. Would you be willing to do stuff, and cause a ruckus in that sense, where you're actually withholding bills from going forward unless and until you get some type of concession? Would you be willing to do that if you got into Congress?
Absolutely. I actually drove to DC for the Force the Vote rally with
Oh, for the
Jackson
rally.
Hinkle, and I got to
Wow.
speak
Okay.
on the steps with the cops surrounding us. I was like, listen, I got
So
to get home to my
well.
kids, but we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
No, I
I
appreciate
know
that.
while I was very disappointed, we have missed opportunities left and right now.
That's
And
it.
this is our moment. I don't want anybody to celebrate a Dr. King Day. You don't talk to me about all these past leaders that went above and beyond. This is our 1960 civil rights moment.
Mm-hmm.
This
Yeah.
is our chance to say no. Like, I don't care about power. I don't care about being your friend. I'm going to fight for the people, and I'm going to let that stand. Enough. That I don't need to stand with you. If I need to do this by myself, I'm going to do it. But the people will stand behind me. And there's no courage. We don't have political courage. We have political cowardice. That's what we
Mm-hmm.
have. And people that care more about keeping power. I mean, let's just be real. When there's a progressive caucus, how many people are in the progressive caucus? Like
Like yeah, 100
117,
something.
120. You mean to tell me that you can't even rally together for progressive causes?
Right.
This is not just the squad. You have an entire caucus that you can lean
Right.
on.
No, and that's the part right there, right? Because on the one hand, they want to say, you know, there's just us, there's so few of us, right? There's only a little bit of us. We can't do more, even though the margin is 5 or 6, and there's 10, there's 10, probably 15 like people that actually kind of support progressive issues, right? So they definitely already have enough. But then they want to be a part of something like the Congressional Progressive Caucus, where there's 100 people. And then they say, well, if you want to, we're not going to force a vote, because if you want to see who actually is for Medicare for All, just look at the co-sponsorship list. When you know that there's people in that Congressional Progressive Caucus who are not progressive, who do not
So,
support Medicare for All.
So I watched a documentary once. It was since I was speaking about Dr. King. I watched a documentary once about Dr. King, and it said that Dr. King only did things that would catch media attention because he needed to shed light on the oppression that was happening within the African American community, right? Let me ask you a question. Did anyone write in the papers? Was there any news media talking about how, ooh, they almost didn't vote for Nancy Pelosi. They almost didn't side with her. There was no media attention about that. Nothing. Nothing. They were just, oh, yay, Nancy Pelosi. She's at it again. She's the Speaker of the House. Congratulations. Forget about sponsors and co-sponsors. Do it for the attention. Do it to shed light. Do it to cause a ruckus. Do it to wake the people up and say, you know what? They stood up for us. They stood up for us. Even if it was risking Republican to be the Speaker of the House or whatever the case is.
Right.
Risk it.
Which
risk it
true.
all.
Right.
Exactly. It was anyway.
So a lot of people, I think, have, especially after, AOC, right? We're talking about 2018 when AOC won her race. She was coming on, progressive news shows much bigger than this one. So I'm not going to say I'm a comparison, but, you're someone running, anti-establishment, an insurgent campaign to unseat an incumbent who's entrenched in the Democratic Party. You're on a progressive news show. Everything you're saying and even your actions up until this point sounds amazing, and that's why I want you on. I'm glad to have you on the show. I want you to get in there. But they'll say, well, 3-4 years ago, AOC was saying the same things, right? AOC said she wanted to be a one-term congresswoman before she, just fell in line, before she didn't cause ruckus, before she didn't be that oppositional force. That's what AOC said as well. So how can people trust that, once you get in there, you will always be with the people and not just with the party? Because I think that's the biggest kind of disconnect that we're seeing from the progressives in Congress right now.
So there's nothing that I can say that can prove myself other than me actually being in there. But one thing I will say is I'm a woman of faith, right? I'm not doing this because I woke up one day and said, let me just put all of my family's business out there and let me try to run for Congress for a bigger paycheck or for popularity. I actually prayed and fasted before I even thought to run for this, because I felt such a calling on my life to fight for people. I've been doing it my whole life. This is not something ideal for me. I want to be able to go to my kids' soccer games, and I want to be able to run my small business and not have it closed. I want to do all these things with my life, but I have a calling on my heart. So the only thing I can tell you is I'm only in this for the people, because I see people suffering and I know that I have a heart to do the work. And when it comes that time for me to leave, I'm going to bounce. I don't care about the power. I don't care about the money. I don't care to be anybody's friend. I'm a very nice person. I'm a very friendly person, but I'm not here for that. I'm here because people are suffering. And so I hope that my character will speak for itself.
For sure. And that's, that you can't have the mindset of, I'm never going to support someone, running, even if, yes, they're running in the Democratic Party. You're running in the Democratic Party right after running independent last time around.
Yes,
and
I am.
Understandably so, there are a lot of progressives who are completely done and frustrated with the Democratic Party. Yeah. Completely done and frustrated. And understandably so. I will still support insurgent candidates like you, because I think you can have a multi-pronged approach. I can support the People's Party if they have candidates. If they have the best candidate in the race, if you're the best candidate in the race, I'll support you, right? While also pushing for, other means, right, outside of electoral politics.
Yes.
So, that's kind of my take on it. I understand there's other people that might disagree. That's fine. But, I do think there are things that can potentially change. if maybe someone actually gets in there and shakes things up, who knows, but that's something might as well try, right? And that's why I appreciate people like you still putting the work in. It's very difficult to run a campaign, especially if you're not just getting a $1 million check, right, to spend on
Ah,
advertising and stuff like that from a corporate donor. You're not doing that, so still glad to support you on that. Is there
thank you.
is there anything kind of coming, like, how has it been with COVID? Are you back to kind of knocking on doors? Are you having volunteer drives to get more people, or is that kind of not really the I guess atmosphere because of
You
COVID
know,
still being
I'm
around?
in Florida, right? Like, COVID is a literal joke.
Right, it
It's a
doesn't
joke.
exist. I forgot
It
in Florida
doesn't
it doesn't.
exist.
Right.
Yes, I'm knocking on doors. Yes, I'm having whatever drives you can think of. I do a food drive twice a week. Um, right now, we were doing a homeless drive to help the homeless get their stimulus checks.
Hmm.
That has been a hassle. The government doesn't make it easy at all.
Hmm.
Um, so yes, I'm doing a lot of different things right now. But yeah, COVID is a joke. So what we a joke in Florida, not a
Right.
joke
She's
for
not
me.
saying to her. She's not saying to her.
I take it
I'm
seriously.
like, I'm clipped out of context. Here we go.
Frederick is gonna take that and be like, "You see, she said it was a joke." No, um, but nonetheless, we are working hard and we're creative. I don't let anything stop me. My team will tell you that nothing stops us, and we're starting early
Mhm.
enough where we can build that momentum. So
Yeah.
I'm going for the win.
Okay. That I love that. That's if you're playing, right, you're playing to win.
Yeah.
You're
Yes.
playing to win. So let's kind of do a little lightning round here. Just so I can and our viewers can better understand your priorities, your take on the issues. So obviously healthcare, you support Medicare for all.
Yes.
Okay. You support free public college.
Yes.
Okay. What are are you, I guess, a support the Green New Deal as an actual policy, not as this resolution? You support that?
Yes. And I don't know if you've heard of the Off Act, because the Off Act actually bans fracking, which would be, more ideal. But yes.
Even better. Okay. Gotcha. I think I did hear about the off act because if I'm not mistaken, Tulsi Gabbard introduced that.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
she did.
So yeah. Um what are your views on, let's say, Israel and Palestine, what's going on right now? Do you have any thoughts you'd like to share kind of with the audience on what you think about that?
Absolutely. No funding for the Israeli government. Period. Period. There should not even be a question. First of all, as a mother, and that's why I even got on and said I was angry. As a mother, to see these children dying,
Yeah.
it's hard for me to even sleep at night thinking
Hmm.
about these things. And for politicians to stay quiet
Hmm.
because I know that this deals with money, or you feel like maybe someone's going to call you anti-Semitic. But when you see something wrong, you have to say something. So yeah, no funding. Done.
No funding. And do you support BDS as a measure to um
Yes,
you know, as a measure against Israel, I guess,
absolutely.
and to stand in solidarity with Palestinians? That's good. And what about the prosecution and torture of Julian Assange? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, Julian Assange should have been free 10 years ago. And I don't even know what to say. While we were at the Force the Vote rally, I also got to attend the extradition trial. Like, there was like a little rally in
Mhm.
front of the embassy, the British embassy in DC, and I got to speak there as well, which is very exciting. And I prayed. Everyone's like, "Okay, we're atheists, but sure, why not?" I was like, "Listen, I'm telling you, I prayed." I get a call the next day and said, "We don't know what you did, but he's not being extradited." I was like, yes. So
No, I
so
love that. You're in
I
it. You're
think
in it.
that we cannot tell our children to tell the truth as children, but then when they get older, say, I know we told you to tell the truth, but now that you're an adult, we're actually going to imprison you because you tell the truth. What sense does that make?
Exactly. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm glad. I'm glad that you stand in the correct position on these issues. I hope that you can get that message out even further. Let me pull up your Act Blue, or do you have?
Oh,
Is
you want me to
there
put
a?
in the chat?
Oh yeah. Why don't you put it in the chat? Perfect. Even better. Everyone, make sure if you can, if you have anything extra, donate to Chrstine's. Let me put that in there. Make sure you donate to her campaign. I know that's like probably the biggest thing, right? The biggest hurdle getting over is the money disadvantage.
It's
Um,
hard to ask people for money, especially when I know that they're struggling.
yeah,
It's and then also growing up as a person of color, your parents tell you don't ask nobody for money.
I
Like
know,
like
I know.
it's like ingrained in your mind, and so it's very difficult. But you have to understand, the incumbent doesn't raise money well at all. So if I can get even like a portion of that, oh my gosh, talk about
Yeah,
taking it for the win. So.
for sure. I'm with you. Okay. All right. Well, is there anything you'd like to leave? Anything you'd like to leave the audience with before we let you go? I appreciate you coming on, by the way, and I appreciate you going out there and trying to win a campaign without taking corporate money. Obviously, it's very difficult. So
Thank you. Yes, I do want to say that I believe that everyone deserves to live their life in dignity. And whether you are a Democrat or Republican or independent, it doesn't matter. We need to focus on people. So if you see something wrong, I want you to say something. Or I want you to run for office
mhm.
because there's so much corruption in our government. And the only way that's going to change is if we have regular everyday people fighting for regular everyday people. Please visit www.christineforcongress.org. You can find me on Twitter, Chrstine FOR24. And seriously, 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 free Julian Assange, free Palestine, and free the patent.
Free the
Sorry,
patent. That's
free
some.
the
Yeah,
patent.
we didn't even get a chance to talk about that, but look, that's all we need to know. That's all we need to know. You're with it on it. So I appreciate you, Chrstine. Thanks so much. We're definitely gonna have to have you back on the show. Because your race is not until 2022. Is that correct?
Yes, but I'm running as if it's tomorrow.
That's what you got to do. Like you said, you're starting early this time. You're starting
Yes.
early. So I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Chrstine.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Awesome. Yeah. So everyone, yeah, make sure you check out Chrstine's campaign. Volunteer, donate if you can. I know it's in very difficult times, but I mean the fact that she's going out there and running, which is always so hard with all this corruption. Like when you have an entrenched incumbent, good for her. Good for her going out there and trying. That's a lot more than some of us other people are doing. Um, I'm sure she can't. She's a regular working person in Florida, right? In her district, the median income was like $44,000 a year. So for her to be out there doing that, I appreciate her coming on, and I'd love to plug her campaign. If I was in Florida and I had the chance to vote, I would vote for her. You know. So she's cool. She's cool. And someone said she's cool, but she should run on a third party ticket. I mean, yeah, she tried that. She tried to run third party, I think in 2018 it was, and I mean the Democrat, it's just very difficult without that. I think it's funding. The funding part is harder, and I don't know. She tried, and so this time I think she said she's going to try and run as a Democrat. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like I'm gonna support someone like Chrstine. I'll support People's Party, um, and I'll support like general strikes and things like outside of electoral politics too. So, someone said, "Did I ask if she is willing to withhold her vote on any bills?" Yeah, she she was at the Force the Vote protest in DC. She said she drove up to go to that and she spoke at it. So she's definitely You know, she's definitely down with the cause, and she's putting her body out there, you know. She's putting her body out there to do it. She's not just, you know, talking the talk. She's showing up at the protest. She said she was at the Julian Assange protest. Like, she's actually about it, you know. So I appreciate her, and I hope she runs and you know, catches some momentum and can beat that incumbent. You know, someone said it might be a mistake in the long run running as a Dem. Hard to say. Yeah, it's hard to say at this point. Any interest in mutual aid communalism regarding tactics outside of electoralism? Yeah. I just got contacted by a mutual aid. I need to get back to them. But that kind of seems to be like one of our kind of last few choices that we have, because, you know, what are you going to do? Sit there and wait on the, if you think about all the people that have been sitting there waiting on the government to do something for the, you know, for the past 3, 4, 5, 6, I mean, forever in this country, right? So you can't just sit and wait on that. Things like mutual aid we need to do, you know, and if you have if you have the ability, the available funds, I would be definitely donating to stuff like that. And it has to be communalism, because that's what, you know, that's what people have been having to do, especially in, you know, these disadvantaged and poor communities for a long time. You have to rely on each other. So yeah, that was cool. I was really glad I was able to talk to her. I've been trying to, you know, get her on the show for a while. I want to do more stuff like that too. I don't know. Like I said, I'm gonna be talking to Kashama hopefully next week. She's been able to affect, you know, some real change. And you know, obviously she's at the local level in the city council, and Chrstine would be, you know, U.S. Congress or federal level. But even at the local level, major things can happen. Major things happen at the local level, and that's where a lot of the wins are coming from right now. So that's why when Erika comes on here, we'll talk about CalCare. And I don't know if y'all saw, but California has a, what is it, a $38 billion budget surplus. But and at the same time, they're going to say we can't afford Medicare for all, even though 70% of the healthcare out here in California is already provided through public funds. So that 38 billion and that 30%, that doesn't correlate? That doesn't correlate? Come on. So, but I don't know if y'all have any interest in, are you still working on getting Chris Hedges? Yeah. We're still going to try and get Chris Hedges on the show. Gavin trying to buy recall votes. Yeah. So what they're going to do with the $38 billion is they're going to give it out as direct payments, like an additional stimulus check. They did this, or like, I think maybe in February or March, with a much smaller budget, like $4 or $5 billion. So it was very targeted in the sense that like very little people got it. Now they're gonna expand it to more people are gonna get this. It's gonna be a $600 check. But think about this though. If they use that money instead to transition us here in California to something like CalCare, transition us to a universal healthcare system, how much money would that then save those same people that he's giving $600 to the one time? How much money would that save them each year? So you see how we just spend money in all the wrong, we just use money in all the wrong ways. We're not efficient about anything. Someone said Bernie and AOC have spoiled the progressive donor pool for future candidates. Yeah, I think that's very true. I donated a good amount to Bernie. I was like, you know, I was big on Bernie. I think I might have gave money to AOC. Like I gave money to all of them. I think I might have gave money to Rashida Tlaib. Like I was given, you know, whenever I would get one of those emails, which is funny, like to look back now, because whenever I still kind of get those emails because I want to see what they're saying. And I just haven't like unsubscribed. But it's like it's funny now to think I used to look at that email and be like, okay, I'll send the money. Like, you know, because I had my hopes up. with Bernie, I was in Nevada. I was going to be just meeting up with my friends anyway. And then it ended up being the same weekend that Bernie or the Nevada primary was there. And then I went door knocking for Bernie right before the Nevada primary. So I had my hopes up. I was just right along there with everybody else, but it's hard to imagine. I mean, 2024, if Biden doesn't run for re-election and I don't know, there's not even any like true progressives that are like planning on running in 2024 if there's a primary. I don't even know who would run. Who do you guys think would run? That's a quote unquote progressive, supports Medicare for all, stuff like that. Like I don't even know when the next time we're even going to have the ability to get our hopes up type stuff, like I don't even know. That's what's kind of scary. Someone said, do you reckon Bernie did? I don't think so much. I think it was a rapacious DNC fundraising mechanisms and disappointments from AOC types. Yeah, but you have to understand that Bernie's in the Senate and there's slim majorities, right? In the Senate too. It's literally 50-50. So Bernie has a lot of power as well. So, you can't look at AOC and Rashida Tlaib and all them and say, because they're not taking advantage of the small margins, right? And because they're not taking advantage of them being more than the small margins, being 10 or 15 deep or whatever, you can't then look at Bernie being, yes, only one person, but I mean, you should be able to work with the other progressives like Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey, right? There's other quote unquote progressives in the Senate. So they have a coalition too. So you can't look at Bernie and then say, why, and just give him a pass. You can't do that. If you do that, you have to admit that you're giving him a pass just because you like him and because you have some type of nostalgia towards his campaign. And I get it. I understand, like Bernie's the politician that brought me into this movement too. Like I understand it, but what am I supposed to do? Ignore like the fact that we don't have a $15 minimum wage, the fact that they're giving money away to Cobra, they're not doing a public. Am I supposed to just ignore that and be cool with it and not criticize? No, I can't do that. So it's Bernie too, it's Bernie too. But that's what's kind of scary is that, there's no like, I don't see any progressive presidential campaign in the near future. Definitely not in 4 years or in 2 years, I guess 3 years. That's actually going to make waves. And then say a Democrat wins, say like Kamala wins, right? Then there's no way. I mean, maybe potentially in 8 years, but that's already a long time, right? It's not going to happen for a while. Let's just say that. So I don't know. That's what's a little upsetting. Someone said, did you know that on July 24th there will be protest marches for Medicare for all in DC, Seattle, and LA? I didn't know that. July 24th. That's like right before my training camp starts. So maybe I can make it to that. That'd be cool. Maybe we could do like I don't know, live stream or something at it. Who knows? But I'll definitely keep my mind on. I think I might have seen that on Twitter. I gotta catch up on my super chats. I totally forgot. I have not been reading those. I'm sorry, folks. I forgot about that. Let me take a look at those real quick. Don't want to miss you guys. Brian Frederick, appreciate the super chat. Hashtag free Palestine. Yeah, hashtag free Palestine. Like I said, I'm gonna have Aaron Mate on the show to talk about that. Hopefully Thursday. So stay tuned for that. Michael Ruiz, appreciate the super chat. Go Chrstine, a wonderful progressive, and will be an amazing congresswoman. Well, thanks for that super chat. Hey, we're gonna take that super chat and we're gonna go donate it to Chrstine's campaign, and we'll match it. Boom, there you go. Misanthropic and out of coffee, appreciate the super chat. We need Dr. Richard Wolf to run against Schumer. Dr. Wolf for U.S. Senate, New York. Nominate him on MPP website. Okay, I'm down for that. try getting Gabor or Matt on your show. It's already. I feel like I'm already lucky to get Aaron on. Now I gotta go for a bigger fish. Man, I'll be tough. Let's see. Oh, wait, I think that was that the last one? Yes, that was. All right, but so we'll be having Erika on pretty soon here. If you guys want to stick around and listen to my talk with her about CalCare. Um, I think we have pretty similar ideas and frustrations. So um, we'll chop it up about that a little bit. I don't know if I think I was about to say this earlier, and I went to another went to another topic, but I've been doing a little bit more research in the just the like money world, digital world, like stock market, Fed, all that type of stuff. I didn't know pretty much anything about that, and now I'm learning a lot more. But included in that is NFTs. So I've been learning more about NFTs, and just trying to understand like what they are, why they exist, what their purpose is, what their function is, why people are paying $30 million for one, like all that type of shit. I've been trying to do that. Um, and I'm actually gonna be able to bring on, hopefully later this week or early next week, we're gonna be bringing on someone who is creating his own NFT platform. So I think after this interview, with Erika, we're gonna try and like watch a little breakdown about NFTs, so we can all learn a little bit more about it. If you guys, someone said, "Man, some people have way too much money." Yeah, paying $30 million for, I, but then again, yes, 100%, that person has way too much money. Um, but the way this guy Brad Trammell from Instagram, he did like a breakdown of NFTs, and the way he broke it down, I think. And what does NFT stand for? It stands for non-fungible token. But just we'll do a little breakdown of it a little bit later, and then we'll all learn a little bit more. And then I want to have that guy on to talk about it. And it's really interesting because it's like when he breaks it down, he basically explains how it's almost like a rebellion against the entrenched elite, at least in the artist world when it comes to regarding NFTs. It's almost a rebellion against the elite power structure within like museums and just the art world, and who decides what's worth money and what's valuable and all that shit. It's kind of like a rebellion against that, which I think is really cool. So I think that's really cool. It's kind of similar to Bitcoin. I don't know if you guys know who Max Kaiser is or watch the Kaiser Report. But if you watch Jimmy had him on. But he was basically talking how like Bitcoin and some of these cryptocurrencies is kind of like an FU to central governments and central feds, and this controlled money where they can print a bunch of money to bail out their rich friends, and then everyone else kind of gets screwed, right? You're not getting money to bail out, you know, your debts or anything like that. But these companies who have made billions and billions of dollars are getting bailed out. So we understand that there's, the economic system is completely broken, and cryptocurrencies was kind of a way to rebel against that as well. So it's actually kind of linked, and I didn't understand that at first, but yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later, and then I'm potentially gonna have someone said no NFT, please. You don't have you can, you know, you don't have to stick around. It's okay. I'm learning about it. I think it's interesting. I think it's gonna be a part of the future. It's gonna be a part of the future because obviously you have to understand things are becoming much more digitalized. So it's definitely gonna be a part of the future. We're gonna get Erika in here in a sec. Um, for Let me just reach out to her and get her on. Someone says Max has skin in that game. Yeah. He definitely does. He definitely does. Someone, and yeah, I mean, when it comes to competing with China, right? Because China is economically is passing America. It's gonna happen probably within the next 10 years. Um, so it's things. I mean, who knows what's gonna happen in the future? I think that's why those things are worth. Um, I think that's why those things are worth looking into at least and learning about because it's gonna be a part of the future. I mean, it's kind of already staked this position. Someone said cryptocurrency is not a revolution. No, I don't think it's a revolution. Bitcoin will not solve the inequality. That's true. And it's it's a currency. It's not a governmental system, right? So it's not like you can come in and say I don't think you can come in and say oh, Bitcoin is going to solve inequality. That's not true. I don't think that's true, but it does level out the playing field in the sense of controls, right? The sense of the ability to, the ability for elites in this country to have relationships with people in government, have relationships, with these politicians, and then be able to get bailed out every single time there's a crash or every single time there's some type of stress within the economy. So that's where Bitcoin and like the dollar, right? That's where it differs. So, but yeah, I don't think it's a resolution for inequality. I think that's why we still have to try and fight for some type of different governmental system that can kind of be the over, maybe maybe eventually Bitcoin is a part of that. Who knows? I don't know that. No one knows at this point. If America kind of crumbles as the world, reserve currency or the global empire, then who knows what the future is going to be like? We're not going to be getting all those cheap things from China anymore, right? If our currency is not in demand anymore like it is now, then things will not be nearly as cheap as it is now. So we might have to be living very different lives. Who knows? Someone said money isn't real. I mean, yeah, if you can just print it out of thin air and give it to your friends to bail out all their debts that they've made all this money accruing, and then they don't have to pay down the debts, you know. Okay, well, our next guest is here, so why don't we bring her on the stream? Erika, what's up?
Hi.
It's been a while since we've talked on video. I think since the
Since you did, our
right
event
the event,
with
right, with your name
Assembly Member Santiago. Yeah.
right. Yeah, so a lot has went down since then. So first off, how how have you been doing? What's been going on with you? Just before we kind of dive into CalCare, what has Healthcare LA been up to? Why don't you kind of just introduce that to my viewers and let them know what's up with that?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on, not only to discuss CalCare and to be here to represent Healthcare for All Los Angeles, but you've also made me cool in the eyes of my 13-year-old son, which I really appreciate you for. So he was like, "You're going on a football players podcast?" I'm like, "Yeah." Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get that sometimes.
So
13-year-olds think I'm a lot cooler than I am. Promise.
So we've been what we've been focused on at Healthcare for All Los Angeles is, as you know, we are single-minded for single payer and putting everything we have into supporting the California Single Payer Bill, the Guaranteed Healthcare for All Act, otherwise known as CalCare. And let's just say it's been delayed, but it's still alive. It's now a 2-year bill. And so the positive way of looking at this is we have 8 months to rally the people and to demand that the assembly members pass this bill and then do it all over with the Senate members. It's disappointing. The nurses put out a statement. They were not happy with this decision to delay the bill. We certainly were not happy about it. And, you know, for a party that has single payer in their platform, right? So it's in the Democratic, the California Democratic Party platform.
Yep.
We have a Democratic supermajority in the Assembly, a Democratic supermajority in the Senate, and a governor who campaigned specifically on single payer. The fact that we're having to fight this hard, I mean, it should have just like sailed through. It should have been like, here's a bill where all the members, you know, of the legislature are getting free chocolate, and be like, oh yeah, I'll sign that. Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. And, you know, we're seeing the same patterns that we've seen before, but we are in a different place that we've been before. We have, I think it's like 55% of the California population support single payer. So that doesn't matter which party you're on, so over half the population, but over 80% of Democrats support single payer. And you know, so we've got the Democrats completely in power. There are no Republicans to blame for why this bill has not advanced. And we are still in a pandemic. We're in a crisis. And now we have been in a healthcare crisis long before the pandemic.
Right.
But like cameras have exposed the state-sanctioned violence of the police against Black and Brown and Indigenous community members, to those who had the luxury not to see it before. COVID is doing the same thing for our healthcare system. It is merely exposing the incredible inequity and cruelty of our healthcare system, and it has also exacerbated it. So
what? I mean, I think that point is spot on. And why do you think there's no, you know, lever or mechanism for, you know, let's stick with California and Democrats in California who, you know, support this legislation, see something like CalCare is up, and then it just gets tabled? Like, what do you think? How do you think that plays with, you know, the California public? And how is it that they can just do that, right? Not actually support legislation that's in their platform is in, you know, in the system, trying to go through, right? Trying to actually get up to the governor's desk. And then it just doesn't. Like, how do you think that plays with the California public, who is so for and desperately needs, especially after COVID, right? Something like CalCare to go through.
So I think that with so many of us, so let me just put it to you like this. We saw how huge, as Bernie Sanders would say, he won the state of California during the primaries in this past election. And there were, and just so you know, I was president of a local Democratic club for 3 years. Back in 2016, I was a delegate for Bernie Sanders. And then I was an elected assembly delegate twice because I was trying to move the party to the left. So I've been on the inside a little bit. And there were shenanigans, and still Bernie Sanders won so big that he won the state huge. And the governor is facing a recall. If Governor Newsom used his platform and used his power and came out and said to his super majority Democratic legislature, I want AB 1400 CalCare on my desk, it would most likely get there.
Right.
And you know, and you would see people rallying as huge as they did for Bernie Sanders, who won this state, to support him and not being recalled. So what you're seeing is like a lot of people being like, yeah, maybe I don't want him to get recalled, but and I got to go pick up my kids from school, so I can't really be bothered.
Exactly, and that's exactly why the Democrats lose elections, right? Not because they have a disadvantage, because the people that they're supposed to be getting in their coalition, right, are disaffected, are depressed, and don't come and turn out when they have these busy lives, right?
And why would we when he's not? I mean, if he were to lead us to have CalCare, you would have people do what it takes to get out in the streets to support him. There are the Democratic tribalists who are doing that, but I'm seeing beyond, because instead of just talking the talk, he'd be walking the walk and actually giving people what they need. We're in the middle of a pandemic. To give your people health care,
right?
I mean, to deny them of health care is unbelievable. And by the way, but not supporting this bill is effectively denying people health care. And what is so disappointing is that these Democratic members of the legislature, they have no sense of urgency.
None. They don't
let's, we'll just push it to this. And it's disheartening, but not so much so that, we need our people in the streets. And that is how we think, to get this done, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take, so many of us in the streets demanding that they do this. And if they don't, not supporting them.
Yeah. No, that's where we have to get. That's the point we have to get to. That's the point we have to get people in this country to, right? Where they're not going to continue to support these people like the Democrats, who have a super majority in California and have had that for a long time now. Unless and until they actually give the people something back, right? So when you have, and I was just speaking about this a little earlier before you came on, but with this $38 billion surplus that the governor recently just announced that the state has, and the fact that we know that 70% of the California health insurance is already paid for by public dollars, right? So you're really looking at a 30% funding, which is what they keep tabling this bill, because they don't know where the funding is. Well, I'm like, that's $38 billion that can go towards helping that funding gap, right? If they actually were about passing something like CalCare, if Newsom was actually about that. Now, what he's going to do is he's going to give people a $600 stimulus check, right? With that $38 billion, he's going to give it out. And some people are saying, well, he's out there buying votes. And I'd say, yeah, probably. But but instead of actually putting that towards something that would take away their health care bills every year, which would be a lot more than $600, instead of doing something like that, he's just going to, do this little stimulus program and then still act like we can't afford to have something like that would be cheaper than what we have now. We can't afford something cheaper like CalCare. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you're exactly right. And it's important that you point out that all the healthcare costs in California, 71% of those costs are publicly funded. But right now they're privately managed. And with CalCare, so what you're saying, it's only about 29% that we need to find funding for. And actually it's less than 29% because of the savings, right? So if you look at Medicare, right, the overhead is only 3% for administrative costs. Whereas with private insurance companies, it's something like 20 to 30%. So it's actually even less than 29%. If SB 562, the single payer bill that was around in 2017, also written by our nurses, shout out to our California nurses, we love you. If SB 562 had been implemented in 2017, by the end of 2020, the state of California would have saved $111 billion.
In 3 years.
111 billion.
Wow.
So that's even more than the surplus. Imagine how far that could go in housing our unhoused neighbors.
Imagine $111 billion. Like, you're solving the issues. You're solving all the issues that we can't afford to pay for. You're solving it just by instituting single payer healthcare. That's it. I mean, you have to think of California as like, it's one of the biggest economies in the world, right? So think of it as its own country, right? If we get single payer here, you'd be saving, like Erika said, $111 billion, and you could fix any issue you want. All those roads that are shitty in LA, fixed, right? Everyone who's unhoused is now housed. We're going to make LA beautiful, make California. They could do all that. Put money towards, the climate to get rid of some of these wildfires. Anything, just by doing one thing. Passing single payer healthcare in California. What will these Democrats do? Not that. They're not going to do that.
There's so much, because all of these issues, they intersect, right? They're intersectional issues, and there's so much that this bill, CalCare, does to bring solutions to other areas. And as you pointed out, California is the world's 5th largest economy. So it's a much bigger economy than Canada's, and California is about roughly the same population. So they can do it. We can do it. And this is all, you'll hear it's not, there's no funding mechanism. Well, when we had SB 562, there was a study done, the Perry study, and it recommended 2 ways of financing SB 562. It was a 2.3% gross receipts tax, and it was on businesses $2 million or more, and it was a 2.3% luxury item tax. So essentials like rent, food, they were exempt. But there's all kinds of ways that you could fund this. You could have a, Texas has a drilling tax, right? When the companies come in and drill, they tax them on that. You could have a billionaire tax. There's so many different ways to fund this. And but talking about the intersectionality of this bill, single payer, I was reading an article today, and there's a quote on it, and it said, "Let's be clear, passing Medicare for all is a racial justice issue," wrote Black Lives Matter in a statement endorsing Medicare for all. As the organization states, Black people, and especially Black women, have historically been and continue to be subject to a medical apartheid in the U.S., with substandard care and unequal access and expectations, in contrast to the care and standards white and other people are given. So it's another area. What we have right now, what our healthcare system is right now, is it is a caste system.
Yep.
Where it, says some lives, mostly wealthy and white, are valued more than other lives. And so you have penthouse care for those who can pay for it, and bargain basement care for everybody else. And what CalCare does is it ends this caste system, and it gives us a new healthcare system where basically the senator and the janitor receive the same high standard comprehensive care. And it's only when you have everybody in that you have, equitable healthcare. So that's another area where you see the intersection of single payer.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to Bad Faith podcast, and Brianna Joy Gray was talking about this, and it was that something like Medicare for All disproportionately would give who healthcare that does not have healthcare or is underinsured at the moment. Mostly Black and brown people, right? Poor people. So this is a racial justice issue as well, right? And California has a very diverse population as well, especially the cities. So like you're just saying, this is a quintessential issue if you're actually talking about racial justice and racial equity. But in the most progressive state, we're not doing something like that, which we all know would have that effect.
This bill is such an incredible bill. I mentioned SB 562 earlier. By the way, this is the sixth attempt California has put forth in having single payer legislation. We had an event, by we, I mean Healthcare for All Los Angeles, with Kip Sullivan and Dr. Jim Kahn. And they really, they compare single payer bills all over the country. And CalCare is, a gold standard single payer bill. It is such a thorough and thoughtful bill, but there is a section where it talks about, it prioritizes funding for rural and underserved communities. And so, things like if you look at Beverly Hills, hospital, tons of doctors' offices, medical facilities, and then you go, into Inglewood and they're fighting to keep their hospital open. What CalCare does is it puts, hospitals, healthcare facilities. We know that delay can mean disastrous medical consequences and even death. Right. So having, hospitals and clinics in communities, in neighborhoods, this bill does that. And it's very important to our public health and our neighbors' health.
Does it allocate money? It allocates money to bolster those.
It prioritizes the allocating of money. Wow. So, it's a really amazing bill.
Be unbelievably life-changing. It's, I was just talking to Chrstine Olivo. I think that's how you say it. I want to make sure I get it right. And she's running for Congress in Florida, but she was saying, we've normalized not having these things that every other rational society has had for a long time, right? We have normalized that. So the fact that you have to fight to keep the hospital near you open, the fact that you even have to do that is unbelievably inhumane. But we've just normalized things like that. So we've normalized accepting the fact that in the most progressive, quote unquote, state with a super majority Democrats across the board, we've normalized continuing to even consider voting for a single Democrat unless and until that bill is passed this state, right? We've normalized all those things, and that's frustrating. And that's basically what a caste system does, right? We've normalized that, if you can pay and if you look a certain way, you deserve health care. And if you can't and don't, then you don't deserve health care. So it's a dehumanizing process. Yeah.
And CalCare would put an end to that. And, we support the national efforts, of course, for Medicare for All. But we think that California is just in a unique position to get this passed, to get it implemented, to do it now. And we believe that the nation would follow. And, shout out to our brothers and sisters at Whole Washington who are fighting the good fight there. And we know there's bills in other states. So I appreciate the solidarity. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And it is an easier fight, quite frankly. You're dealing with a state legislature and a particular state's population where something like this is very popular, where the party that's supposed to be introducing this is completely in power. So this is, and especially with the economy that that California has, being the 5th largest in the world, that is something that can get done here, that can provide healthcare to a lot of freaking people who need it, right? A population that desperately needs it. And it could be a model. It could be all those things, which is exactly why Gavin Newsom, Anthony Rendon, and the rest of the legislature doesn't want to pass it, right? Because then they're seriously putting in jeopardy one of their biggest donor bases, and that's pharmaceutical industry and the health insurance industry. So what does Healthcare for LA have coming up as far as events, any protests or anything like that we should know about?
Well, we have every Sunday, we have CalCare office hours. And it's from 5 to 7. So you can drop in anytime from 5 to 7. Just go to Healthcare for All Los Angeles page on Facebook. And we live stream it. And you can come and ask any questions about the bill. We would love for our members of the California legislature, particularly assembly members, to come and join CalCare. We usually have a doctor and a nurse to help answer the questions. So every Sunday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. We have an event coming up on Monday, May 24th, 7:30 p.m. Also live on Facebook. We have Dr. Paul Song. He is an oncologist here in California. He's been a long-time champion of single payer. He's a member of Physicians for National Healthcare Program. And he's going to be talking about why a public option is no option. A public option is not single payer. I hear the terms used interchangeably. So we're super excited to have Dr. Song talk about why a public option is no option that will continue the caste system. Do not be fooled by a public option. And so that's coming up May 24th, 7:30 p.m. You can go to our website, hcala.org, and we have a calendar section. We are when we hit the streets, we want to hit it big. So definitely please check in with us.
For sure. Awesome. Well, cool. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Erika. Thanks for giving us the lowdown. Everyone make sure, you visit, what is it? HCALA, Healthcare for
HCALA.org.
Check out the event calendar. It can happen. It can happen in California, but it's gonna take a massive effort. So let's be here for that when that occurs. Appreciate all the fight that y'all have over there at Healthcare for All LA. Thanks for coming on the show, Erika. We'll have to definitely have you back on really soon. Next time we get some type of update on this.
Thank you so much, Justin.
All right, Erika. Take care. Awesome. All right. Well, appreciate Erika for coming on. CalCare, is something that would be life-changing for so many people in this state. Life-changing. And it barely even made it through committee because you have a bunch of Democrats in California who play at being for the people, who play at being for progressive policies. They're not. They always come up and say something like CalCare, where are you going to find the funding for something that's cheaper, for something that costs less money? Where are you going to find the funding? But they literally just announced a $38 billion surplus. It's just unbelievable the amount of gaslighting that the Democrats here in California constantly spew at their base. And they're all paid off by the pharma industry, the healthcare insurance industry. It's really bad out here in California. They're, neoliberals. They're neoliberals, just like, I think they're very emblematic of the Democratic Party as a whole out here in California. Because when, I should have asked Assemblyman Caller this when I had him on the show, But I was scrolling through Anthony Rendon's Twitter when, CalCare was announced, and they had a big drive and everything to spread the message. And I went through not Eric Garcetti, Anthony Rendon, the Speaker of the Assembly here in California, went through his feed, nothing about CalCare, not a single tweet. If he actually wanted to pass CalCare and he was actually excited about CalCare being introduced and actually planned on doing everything he could to make sure it passed, don't you think he would have said at least something on his Speaker of the House Twitter page about it? Don't you think he'd actually have said something? At least you guys have the socialist Dianne Feinstein. Exactly. Like, Dianne Feinstein's one of our senators. So it's what, Dianne Feinstein, and who's the other? It used to be Kamala. I don't know who the other one is now. And then we have, Pelosi, right? She's from San Fran, which is Northern California. But so I think I'm gonna. I know this was kind of a short stream, but I kind of wanted to get back into it a little bit. But we will be back Thursday. I will be back Thursday to stream. I'm probably gonna have Aaron Mateo on that day. I haven't confirmed that yet. But we will be back Thursday. I promise. And we'll have a more full show for you guys. More full live stream. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, sorry, I have something else I have to go do. But like I said, I'm trying to get these good guests for you guys, so we could talk about these things, and hear from people that are, thinkers, or people like Kashama Sawant, people like Richard Wolff. Yeah, to have these fuller conversations. So appreciate you guys. Someone said Rose McGowan is on Jimmy's show right now. Yeah, go over there. Go check out Jimmy, or another a lefty YouTuber. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for stopping by the show. Make sure y'all go check out Healthcare for All LA, and go check out Chrstine Olivo. Go check out her website. Donate if you can, volunteer if you can, those type of things. And I appreciate you guys joining. Until Thursday.